welcome back. So, for the past little while, I've been sharing with my friends that I am now pregnant, and that has been a surprise for a lot of them because I spent the last decade being very sure that I did not want kids. And then I got pregnant last year, and I am still pregnant. And so I thought I'd make a video sharing why I decided to stay pregnant when I have always been so sure that I never wanted a future with children. So the story starts right after my mom died. I had a dream that I was going to be pregnant. At first, that really freaked me out, but I thought through what my options were, and if I'm gonna be honest, I was not excited about the possibility of having a baby. And so I waited until my next period and it came, and I was like, okay, great, we don't have to worry about that. Fast forward to 6 months later, in September, on the last day of my period, I had another dream, the exact same one from 6 months ago. Now, this time, the dream was also paired with flashbacks of memories from when I was a baby. Now, I have never accessed these memories before, so I'm not sure where they came from, but I'm gonna try my best to explain how I experienced them. Even though these memories were from when I was a baby, when I was experiencing them, I was actually in my mom's place looking down on myself as a baby. And the things that my mom was saying were coming out of my own mouth. It was really surreal having these dreams and these flashbacks, but I just knew after them that I was going to have a baby. And so I called up my friends and I was like, hey, I am going to have a baby. And they were like,
What?
and I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, we will be there no matter what. And that just gave me the assurance to even think about what having a baby would look like. I then talked to my partner and was like, hey, we're going to have a baby. Again, my partner was like, walk me through this because he's always wanted to be a parent. I have had no interest in children. And so when we got together, it was just understood that we were not going to have kids. And then I dropped this bombshell on him. And just like my friends, he was like, okay, we are going to figure this out. Now, the first part of figuring this out was me reflecting on, firstly, whether I could have a baby, and secondly, whether I wanted to have a baby. Whether I could have a baby. Here's the thing about my mom dying. It literally makes me feel like I can do anything. I don't know how to explain it, but my mom for me was not just a parent, she wasn't just a caregiver. She was the essence of everything I knew to be true about this world. And so when she died, suddenly I didn't even understand what the world was. And having to navigate that much uncertainty, I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I'm still doing it. But I do know that if I can navigate that, I can navigate anything. So, yes, I did believe that I could have a baby. Did I want to have a baby? Now, My friend Yvonne posted this really annoying TikTok where this person was talking about how if you say you don't want to have a child because of the financial stress, then that's not really a choice. Because you are not choosing financial instability. The world has created that circumstance for you. And so you don't even have the financial freedom to make the choice to have a baby. So is it really a choice?
Hated that TikTok.
It made me question my own reasons for wanting to have a baby. So the reasons that I had so far were money, raising a child with a man, unsolicited opinions about my parenting, and the fear that I would lose myself. And so I broke them all down. I was like, okay, money. If I had money, would I be open to raising a child? The answer was yes. And so I took it a step further and thought about whether I trusted myself to create worlds that weren't steeped in financial stress. And the answer was yes, because I was raised with a mom who had so many creative ways to navigate financial instability growing up. No matter how tight money was, I never felt like I didn't have access to a full life. And I have navigated financial instability for years and have learned how to not allow financial stress to be the be all and end all of my days. So number one, money was not a reason anymore. Number two, raising a child with a man. So I thought about, if I did not have to raise a child with a man, would I be open to raising a child? And the answer was yes. And then I thought about whether there was even a small part of me that was worried about my partner, who is a man, raising a child. Because let's be honest, so many of my friends have been ruined by their fathers, and I just did not want to perpetuate that cycle. But surprisingly, I was not worried about my partner ruining this child. And I guess it should have been obvious because I chose this person to spend my life with, and I have very high standards for men. But I'm still surprised that there was a man in this world that I had faith in to not ruin a child. Number three, unsolicited opinions. So the last few years specifically, I have started setting boundaries and centering my needs. And there are a lot of people that are not happy about it, because spending time and energy on myself means redirecting time and energy away from other people. And people love my time and energy. Also because a lot of the decisions that I was making the last few years were, I guess, unconventional ones. And people don't like it when you do something that doesn't align with societal norms, because then they have to reflect on why those societal norms mean so much to them. And that's a lot of work, so they'd rather just project and tell me that the way I'm living my life is not okay. Anyway, I thought about whether I would want to raise a child if I didn't have unsolicited opinions. Obviously, yes. And then I thought about whether I had faith in myself to create worlds where I was not exposed to people's unsolicited opinions. And the answer was yes, because I watched growing up as my mom had to face so many unsolicited opinions about the way she parented, because people didn't like it when she was centering her needs, and they didn't like it when she was centering our needs. Basically, people weren't happy with whatever she did. And I watched as she still kept her head held high and continued to do whatever she was doing because she had so much faith that it aligned with her values, and that's what was most important to her. And growing up with that model has allowed me to follow in her footsteps, specifically the last few years, where I have just grown more persistent with my boundaries and with centering my needs. And before she died, my mom and I had endless conversations about how important it was to do whatever you believed in if it felt right in your heart, regardless of what other people had to say about it. So, unsolicited opinions was not a reason anymore. My final reason, being scared that I would lose myself. I thought about whether I would be open to raising a child if I wasn't worried about losing myself. And again, the answer was yes. And then I thought about whether I trusted myself to not lose myself. And the answer was also yes. Because if in the face of my mom's death, I was still able to hold on to who I was, if something that unbearable could still not pull me away from who I am and who I was meant to be, then I don't think anything can. And so number 4 was out the window, and suddenly I was left with no reasons. So I had many chats with my partner about what parenting would actually look like for our dynamic specifically. I talked about what my non-negotiables were, what I was not willing to give up no matter what. And I also talked about where I needed his support in my parenting. I then drew a map, what I like to call my child's care map, where I outlined all the people in my life that I felt would care for me, and all the people in my life that I felt would care for my child. And it made me feel so grateful to know that I would have access to such a nurturing community of care, especially because that's what I grew up with. And it also made me feel so proud of the work that I've put in the last decade to create this community that I could trust. And suddenly having a baby felt like a real possibility for me. I decided to take my pregnancy tests alone so that I had the space to feel whatever emotions came up for me when I got the results without worrying about how my partner would be feeling. Pro tip, the dollar store actually has great pregnancy tests, so don't go spending your money in a drugstore. I had a mini breakdown while waiting for my pregnancy test results. I was just so terrified of my entire life changing, and then having to go through it without my mom felt inconceivable. I took my time, did a little nervous system regulation, and then checked my tests. As you all know, my test came back positive, and even though I had prepared myself for this moment the best I could, I was still in shock for most of the day. Once the shock started to wear off, I decided to tell my partner with this cute ass baby blanket and a little note. I wrapped it up and then waited for him to come home. He was obviously thrilled and I was definitely feeling a lot better about being pregnant by that time. I also just want to take a moment to emphasize that I am pro-abortion. If you get pregnant and you don't want to have a baby, that's totally fine. You don't need to change your mind. You have every right to do whatever feels right for your body. And if anybody has a problem with abortions, I totally understand. I would really encourage you to pursue a career to figure out how to make abortions safer, or even how to teach people to prevent pregnancies, because I really don't feel like we're advanced enough in that field of study. Okay, so now you know I'm pregnant. I've decided to stay pregnant. I wanted to share some of my experiences in my first and second trimester, in case anybody is pregnant and is like, what can I expect? Or if you are thinking about getting pregnant, I really want you to be well informed. I don't think that we talk enough about how awful pregnancy is. And I think that we should, because if people want to get pregnant, they should know what they're getting into. There are so many symptoms that I've experienced, so I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget. So first trimester, I experienced itchy eyes. My eyes would swell up as though somebody had punched me because of my hormones. I experienced nausea, which is very common, but in case y'all didn't know, it's not just morning sickness. It is throughout the entire day. Nausea is often followed by its cousin, puking. And let me just tell you, pregnancy puking is not regular puking.
You puke every single thing you have eaten that day. It is violent. It takes all the energy out of your body. Like, there were times when I could barely walk after I had puked.
Then comes depression with a hint of intrusive thoughts, which personally I've never experienced before. So yeah, that was a fun one to navigate. I experienced a lot of abdominal pain and cramps, internal and then also external, because there were so many shifts in my body as it was making place for the baby. Lots of bleeding, which I was very surprised by, but I guess your body's just releasing everything that it doesn't need anymore. The breast pain, one of the worst symptoms. It feels like cramps constantly in your breasts, and your nipples become so tender that even material slightly grazing across of it is unbearable pain.
Living in Canada where the weather is cold, I could barely go out. It was so painful being outside even for 30 seconds.
This surprised me because I was so nauseous, but I was also very hungry the entire first trimester. And it's this really annoying cycle of
You're hungry, so you eat, then you feel nauseous, then you puke. Or you're nauseous, so you try to eat, and then you don't feel nauseous anymore, so you get your hopes up, and then you puke.
there's also a lot of bloating in areas that I didn't even expect to feel bloated. It just made your body feel so foreign, like it was not even your own. And then one of my faves, vaginal pain.
Oh my god, I have never experienced vaginal pain in my life the way I experienced it during my first trimester.
Overall, also, I was just so exhausted every single day. I maybe had 1 or 2 hours every day where I felt like I could be out of bed or do a task around the house. But apart from that, it was just having to deal with symptoms all the bloody day. It would be like 15 to 20 symptoms in one day sometimes. Things I learned during my first trimester was to just be so flexible and adaptable. Like, there would be days where I'm like, okay, I want to get this done today. And then 5 minutes before I was about to start, I would be hit with a symptom that would just incapacitate me. And I'm like, guess we're not doing that anymore. So just being open to always changing plans and just having very few plans to begin with. I also learned to lean so much on my partner. He was just at my beck and call, and I think that's the way it should be. It was also so interesting to see how much comfort he could provide me, because I don't think I've leaned on somebody that much before in my life. Something else that was interesting during my first trimester is that I refused to be attached to the baby. Even though I was open to this new stage in my life, to parenting, I was just so scared that I would have a miscarriage that I was just so protective of myself. Like, my partner would like talk about something exciting to do with the baby, and I'm just like, wait till the second trimester. Second trimester. So a lot of my symptoms from my first trimester actually continued in my second trimester. The one that didn't continue as much was exhaustion. But then we had so many other symptoms added in my second trimester that I feel like it evened out. So the first one that really hit me hard was I had to get rid of 75% of my closet because nothing fit me anymore. Like, in my first trimester, I could get away with like pajamas and sweatpants, but in my second trimester, barely anything fit. And the grief that I experienced getting rid of so many clothing items. I keep my clothes for like 10 to 15 years. So it was really hard to let go of all those parts of me. I also started to get migraines, which led to body chills and puking, which I personally have never experienced before. And a lot of the time, these migraines were aggravated by social time with other people. So when I was going beyond my capacity, I would then get a migraine. I wasn't as nauseous in my second trimester, but the heartburn, oh my god. I'm not somebody that experiences heartburn. I can count on my one hand maybe the number of times I felt it in my life. But in pregnancy, it's so incredibly difficult to prevent, and then also so incredibly difficult to treat. One of the worst symptoms from my second trimester that I didn't experience in my first trimester is unbearable wrist pain. So I already have chronic pain, and I experience it most in my wrists. But usually I'm like at like a 6 every day. This is like a 10, where I can't even move my wrists, and I have to figure out how to go through my day where I can't move my wrists. I'm not excited about it. I have heard that this wrist pain can continue even beyond birth, so yay me. But I've been doing a lot of research on how I can change my daily activities to reduce the amount of wrist pain that I do feel. And then finally, and this might be the worst symptom for my second trimester, is
pelvic floor pain. Oh my god.
I wake up every single day with pelvic floor pain at a 10. And it doesn't matter what exercises I've done the previous night, and it doesn't matter the yoga that I do every day to strengthen my pelvic floor. It is just so awful, and I really hope that I see some change maybe in a month or 2 months, because I don't know how much more of it I can handle. But yes, that is my second trimester. Things that I have learned is that I am excited about the baby now. Once I passed the first trimester, the baby felt so much more real, and I've started kind of just like dreaming about the future we're gonna have together. I also have been more motivated to have chats with my partner. We meet like once a week and talk about things that we feel like we need to prepare for, but also just how we're feeling in general about how everything's going to change. And we're doing quite a bit of work to reflect on how we can navigate stressful situations that might arise when the baby comes. And that feels really good, getting to witness what it's like for my partner, who's a man, to be a primary parent in this child's life, but also what it feels like for a partner who's a man to always be considerate of how this parenting journey might affect me and the things that they can do to supplement that. I really do feel like this baby is bringing us closer together in a way I have never seen before. And I feel really hopeful about the home that we're going to be creating for this baby. And that is how my first and second trimester has been going. If you are pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant and you have any questions about any of the symptoms below, please let me know. I would love to support you on your journey. So I shared in my Instagram story that I was going to be making this video, and I asked if anybody had questions that they wanted me to answer. I wanted to share two that I really loved. The first is from one of my friends, Shalene, and she asked, how are you approaching compassion for self on this journey? I would say that I am really focusing on being present. I feel like often when people get pregnant, there's a lot of anxiety about whether they're going to be able to raise this baby right, and so they spend all their time researching how to raise a baby. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that much work, so I am researching almost nothing about how to raise my future baby, and my plan is to just wait until the baby comes and then see what I have to deal with, and then research based on what I need to know. So instead of thinking about the future, I am just really focusing on now. I am spending so much time responding to my physical needs, my mental needs, my emotional needs, my spiritual needs. And I really do believe that that's the best thing I can do for this baby, is take really good care of myself. Being present has also allowed me to enjoy my pregnancy. I know that I literally just shared all my awful symptoms, but as awful as pregnancy is, there are also moments of joy, and I just want to bask in those because they're so few and far between. The second question that I wanted to answer is from my friend Sophia. She asked, what's your favorite thing about being pregnant? I would say my favorite thing is how committed I am to protecting my energy. I have always been really protective of my energy, but having this baby has like amplified that. I'm guessing that it's an extension of wanting to protect my baby, but I love that I am already understanding that protecting myself is protecting the baby, because that's a lesson I'm going to want to remember when the baby comes out. Some ways that I've been protecting myself is setting really hard boundaries with my partner. Basically not spending my time and energy on things that I don't want to be spending my time and energy on. If my partner and I have a conflict and I need 3 days after to recover, I get those 3 days. Even though we live in a 1-bedroom apartment, we make it work. I'm also really protective with how I use my time in my day. I just have so little time where I'm not responding to my symptoms that I can't afford to waste it. For example, today I was really struggling to get out of bed, and I knew that I wanted to film this video. And so I was like, okay, compromise. We will still film the video, but we will stay in our PJs all day. And that gives us a little extra time to lounge in bed because we're not bothering to get dressed up for the day. So things like that. I'm also very protective about my energy in the world. Like,
I am somebody who often gets hit on when I'm out, and it honestly is the bane of my existence.
and I was really hoping that once I got pregnant, that would not be a thing anymore. Joke's on me. I literally go out to the grocery store in full pajamas. Hair is like not done. I'm waddling because I have so much vaginal pain that my thighs can't touch each other. And men will still dare to have something to say to me. And I just like don't even bother replying. I just like dirty look them until they look away. Because I'm like, you're not even worth like my words. Yeah. My bullshit tolerance is just like so low. And I love it. And this brings us to the end of what I know is going to be a very, very long video. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope this was helpful. If you have any thoughts about pregnancy, please share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear how y'all feel about it. Whether y'all are pregnant or not pregnant, we can have opinions. And these are not unsolicited, so I welcome them. I feel really energized about sharing this, and I'm really excited to edit. I will see you in the next video. Bye!